What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the podcast. I haven't had one of these in a while. Oh, that's why it wasn't working so well. Let's try that again. Maybe my audio is better. Yes. Oh, my mic wasn't even on. This is the fucking first podcast I've ever done. Anyways, welcome. Hopefully, you guys are enjoying the podcast so far. There was a request I received. Somebody said, put out some more podcasts. So I said, okay. So here's the podcast. It's just been hard to get everybody, and by everybody I mean you and I, together to do this and find a topic and all that good shit. Plus, I've been putting out a lot of other content. Anyways, I feel like I should just scrap all that. Scrap it. Anyways, welcome, ladies and gents. So, podcast time. This coffee better kick in soon.
So you should get it cold, man, so you can just chug it down.
Yeah, but I like enjoying the process of drinking coffee. Just fucking enjoying
I need
the
it
process.
in me. I need it in me as soon as possible.
You looked at me when you said that, and I was like, don't make eye contact when you're saying that.
No, I need that Starbucks in me, deep inside me.
All right, ladies and gents. So, we are now in post UFC 196, and I wanted to talk about that a little bit because I wanted to have a podcast before about Ronda and Conor specifically, primarily because of their attitudes and the way they've carried themselves within the sport, and the possible repercussions of that. I was talking to people before, and I was talking about the Ronda thing and how, and if you guys don't know MMA, maybe it might be a good idea to do your own research on this. But anyways, long story short, somebody's talking about Ronda. Or I saw a meme online about Ronda talking about wanting to commit suicide after she lost. And then afterwards, like looking at Holly being like, what do you want me to say? It's not Holly's fault. She's a competitor. She competed and defeated the champion. And you should feel no repercussions or not no repercussions. Wow, fucking English, right? Mm-hmm. You shouldn't feel bad about that because you put in the work and it paid off and you won and you became the champion. And then I think one of the big variables that nobody talks about is how social media really, I'm sure, made her feel that low, that level of depression that she hit, probably due to social media. Because there's like, okay, so you and I will post funny shit on social media, like Conor losing. I'll post some funny shit on Instagram or on YouTube, Twitter, or whatever your social media is, and it's funny, right? Like it's usually a funny meme. But some people are kind of like assholes, and they start talking shit, right? That's another level of it. And then there's other people that tag the people on it. Like I don't tag Ronda or I don't tag Conor if I'm adding them to a clip where they look fucking ridiculous. Like there's that famous story of that guy who took a picture of Rashad Evans right as Lyoto Machida knocked him the fuck out, and he was sprawled on the mat all fucking I already cussed 16 times already. He's on the ground like all seizing up, and he wanted Rashad to sign that. And Rashad was like, fuck you, and he ripped the thing up and he threw it at him.
Yeah, man.
And I was like, that is disrespectful as hell.
Super disrespectful.
To want this dude who, in his worst moment, you want a signed picture of his worst moment. It's ridiculous. Like he didn't beat the shit out of you. But anyways, that's kind of like the repercussions of acting the way you act in the ring and carrying yourself. And look, we'll talk about Conor in a bit, but Ronda, like for you to sit there and not think you were going to get some sort of repercussions about being as bad about sportsmanship as you can be, she was pretty bad. She's probably the worst.
Pretty bad.
Because she's the only one in my viewership, my internet keyboard warrior days, that somebody's lost the fight, and the winner and the loser haven't at least just shaken it out. Maybe they didn't agree with it, but they've shaken hands. And Ronda was the only one that was just like, "Fuck you, I'm not shaking your hand." Yeah,
she's not done it a bunch of times.
She's done it a bunch of times. She did it to Betch Correia. I think that's how you pronounce the name. She did it to Misha probably a handful of times.
All the times they fought.
And it's like, dude, when you are that much of an asshole, you're gonna get karma coming back at you. You just are. For you to think that you're going to go your whole life without people talking shit about you when it's so easy to talk about somebody nowadays, like, what do you think is going to happen? What do you think is going to happen? How many times they replay Holly Holm throwing her, kicking her in the face, and then just, bam, head bouncing off of the mat? How many times has that been played?
Punch.
Not even just by, like, people on social media like you and I, but by the UFC. They use that for Holly Holm's
They
promo.
showed it right before the fight last night.
Yeah, like slamming her head on the ground.
Yeah, man.
Like a basketball. Like, you know when you're trying to learn how to play basketball as a kid and you don't know you're supposed to, like, palm it? You just fucking hit it with your palm, like hammer fist it.
That's
what Holly
happened.
Holm, yeah. Her head just went. That's the price you pay by talking so much shit. And that's the trade-off. Look, it brings you a lot of money. Like, going in and Connor's made so much money off of the amount of sheer shit he's talked. He's made so much money. But the repercussions of that are that when you lose, and you will lose, like, not many people leave their, especially fighting careers, without losing. Mayweather, one of them, you know. GSP, people still argue that he lost his last one, but technically, officially, he's undefeated. But most of the times you lose, and I feel bad kind of for Anderson Silva because he's lost in a really shitty way, and he's kind of making his way back. Not really. He's never going to get the belt again. But the steroid thing really is going to tarnish his history. Like, he's forever going to be, like, questioned. The people are going to say, well, were you on steroids the whole time?
Maybe.
I don't know.
According to Nate Diaz, yes. According to Nate Diaz,
Everybody's on steroids.
Everybody's on it.
Everybody's on steroids, and all of a sudden his mic didn't work after that. All of a sudden.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on why don't they ever put sugar in this?
You don't put sugar in that. That doesn't come with sugar.
You got to put it on? What do you tell them when they make it?
I don't. My caramel macchiatos is what you got, right?
Yeah.
I don't put sugar in that. You don't need sugar in that.
It's not even sweet.
No, it's not supposed to be sweet.
We'll talk about this later.
We're going to do the next podcast is going to be about coffee.
I'm going to fucking go dump ice cream in this.
Because a few months ago, you're like, haha, I'm a coffee connoisseur. And now I'm like, no, you're doing it wrong.
No, I don't like the taste of coffee per se. I like the taste of fucking, like, a sweet coffee. I'm not a big fan of just, like, the bitter taste of coffee.
Cold like I do. Because then you just taste like the sweetness of it.
Anyways, back to the point. I think that I have no pity for Ronda. Because she's actually probably one of the worst sportsmanship athletes that I've seen in a long time.
Yeah, man. She got what she gave out, man. It's going to come back to you. She did it a bunch of times and it came back to her. I think she took it. Apparently, fighting was the only thing she ever lived for. She's taking it so seriously. She's like,
no,
I got to commit suicide about it.
She's just a sore loser. She's not used to losing.
Well, it fucking
She
happens.
talked about, I think, the same thing when she lost in the Olympics. When she got second place, I think she was depressed and borderline. I think she started getting a eating disorder or whatever. I think she talks about that in the book. I don't know. I didn't read the book. But what I'm saying, though, is there's fucking karma to that. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But then, you know, we just saw that press conference for that. What is it? Unstoppable, where they basically talked about the next few coming fights.
Yeah.
And they're all doing it now.
Yeah, now everybody's doing it.
Everybody's doing it. And so let's talk about there's repercussions. That was my point. And social media, like that giant bag of dicks that you get the day after, even as you're losing, as you're getting that on social media, where people are actually tagging you, it's there and it's gonna happen. And I don't know what the best case scenario is because, like, you look at Conor and Conor is probably there for the paper. Which, look, man, you almost gotta be. That's a combat sport. There's a likelihood you're gonna have some permanent damage. Mm-hmm. You almost gotta be very conscious of the amount of money you're making. At the same time, though, if you're going to go that path, that shit-talking path, be prepared to eat a bag of dicks when you lose. Mm-hmm. Because you will lose.
Yeah.
And when you lose, you're going to have, at your worst moment, when you feel the worst about yourself and your self-confidence is dog shit, and you are feeling like horrible and doubting yourself, you're going to hit that little Twitter icon. And when you do that, there's going to be like 1,000 mentions plus of you. And there's going to be like a video of that moment just slowed down in slow motion where your head just fought gravity and came back up and just knocked out, your body's flailing. And then there's going to be another post where somebody like said something horrible about you. And there's going to be another post where somebody remixed the video to make it with some crazy Swiss beat style. Like, it's going to happen, you know? And that's the downside about being the heel. Is that what it's called in wrestling? The heel? Mm-hmm. That's the downside. And as much as you want to say, like, we'll talk about Conor in a little bit, but I think that's Ronda. Like, I don't think it's, hey, she's putting up a facade. No, I think that's just who she is.
Yeah, no, she's like that. Like, some people put that up, like
yeah,
that facade up. Like,
people,
what were we watching? Embedded. Like, Conor was talking shit to everybody, and then he saw Faber.
And he gives him a
He's
hug.
like, "What up?"
Yeah.
And Faber's like, "What up?" Yeah.
And that's my point. Like, so I guess we can talk about Conor. Like, Conor is putting up a front. I'll be the first to say I was not a big fan of Conor from the beginning. I'm. So you and I grew up like 80s, 90s, and in those times, like I've talked about this before, you're brainwashed by everything. You're exposed to what you see, and that's what dictates the type of shutter, the type of filter you see life through. And in those times, like the movies were like Rocky, and it was like this guy that works through adversity and beats the shit talker, or if it isn't like Karate Kid and beating the Cobra Kai guy who was an asshole that was trying
Never
to like.
seen that movie.
You're a asshole. Badass movie. Crane kick.
Is it good?
Crane kick.
Is it good or is it 80s good?
It's 80s good.
Then I don't want to see it.
Don't ever see it. You're too late. It's too late.
I don't want to see it.
But the guy he fights is from that Cobra Kai gym, and he's like a total asshole. And so is his like teacher who teaches them. And it's like, that's what I grew up with. It's that idea that it's that guy who has to go through adversity and deals with the asshole, and the asshole always gets his ass kicked at the end. And with wrestling, I think that changed, that paradigm, that idea where it's like, oh, the heel can potentially win, and he's dog shit, and he backs it up. Mm-hmm. And that's not what I grew up with. So when Conor came around, I was like, whatever. Like, I was always a big fan of GSP.
Yeah.
And he was like a very calm, very, very nice, polite Canadian, French-Canadian boy. Mm-hmm. And he was very nice, very respectful of everybody, even after all this shit talking. Like, Nate got under his skin. Like a motherfucker. So did Josh Koscheck. Those motherfuckers are paying for that. But at the end of the day, just no fucks by that one.
No.
At the end of the day, like, he made him pay for it. And at the end, he was still very respectful. It's not like he came out and he's like, where you at, Nate? Where you at? Where you and your homeboys?
Yeah, no. He was like, I respect the Nick Diaz. He's a good fighter.
Yeah.
And I shout out to Stockton 209.
Yeah. He's very nice. And before I get any further, I probably should say this from the beginning. Like, I have like complete and utter admiration for anybody that has that focus and wants to do that for a living. Like, combat sports is no fucking joke. Like, the amount of mental determination you have to just go through a training camp, let alone cut weight, let alone fight somebody. Get into a ring where you know there's a dude that trained maybe just as hard or harder than you to beat the shit out of you, and to still do it all, to get past those nerves is crazy. I'll reference back to when we watched Aldo versus McGregor. Like, I was a little freaking jittery when I watched that fight. Like, I was like, it was cold outside too, but I was like, what's gonna happen?
Yeah.
I'm like excited. I'm like, what's and then 13 seconds in, I'm like, oh fuck, you know. And I can't imagine being a fighter going in there, watching that cage lock, a guy being like, you ready? And the other guy's like, you ready? And being able to perform. And that's why when I saw Misha, I was like, oh, she looks nervous. But I get it, man. I get it. And I have...
not nervous. I really thought she was going to... I thought Holly was going to come out super aggressive.
Well, she I guess she likes to stay warm.
She was pouncing that cage like a velociraptor.
I don't know. But once again, like, I have complete admiration for that, because it's the hardest thing you'd ever done, probably times two. And that shit is so hard to do. With that said, though, like, just because it's hard to do doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to avoid people talking shit about you because you're such a bitch in the cage. And this isn't just like Ronda. This could be Conor. This could be Chael. This can be... Who else talks shit?
John Jones. kind of, to DC.
The problem with John is that he's never been owned.
No.
Nobody's beat John yet. And, Gustafsson gave him a nice run for that. But he didn't. I think stylistically, they're both very interesting because they're very similar stylistically. But anyways, that's a different point. Nobody's owned John yet, but everybody else has been beat. Like Anderson Silva was beat twice. And by Weidman. Like at this point, like Weidman's not afraid of him. He's like, whatever. You look at and we'll get into the Ronda home thing, but I honestly just think that you're gonna eat dicks, and there's a giant bag of dicks, right? There's a bag, and every time you talk shit, there's some more dicks going in that bag, and every time you do horrible, unsportsmanlike shit where you don't shake people's hands, fucking more dicks go in that bag. And the moment that you lose, somebody delivers that bag of dicks to your house and slaps you over the fucking face with it. And that's what happens. Like, that's life. And some of you will say it's karma. It is what it is. Like, it's going to happen. There's always a bigger, badder motherfucker around. There just is. Like, if Jones thinks he's the number one pound-for-pound fighter, well, guess what the fuck happens if Overroyd comes back? Yeah, or fucking 100% focused Cain Velasquez comes out. Like, that Cain Velasquez that fought Bigfoot after he lost to Dos Anjos, that's a scary fucking dude.
Yeah, it's a beast, man.
Like, he came out and he had... What was it? Who was he fighting? Bigfoot's blood, like, all over him. He was just like he murdered a dude.
Yeah.
He's a scary guy. He just comes at you. But that bag of dicks is coming. And for me, it's like, what's the best case scenario? I don't know. I don't know what the best case scenario is. They say GSP made a lot of money and he was one of the highest draws. But at the same time, like, is he making Conor money? Probably not.
I don't know. Is Conor even making Conor money? Because Conor gets his money and spends it on random things.
But he still makes the money. Doesn't matter whether he has it or not. What I'm saying is that is he making when the UFC writes the checks? Is GSP making as much money as Conor was? And I don't think he is. Plus, the sport's bigger now than it was back then.
That's a good point.
But at the same time, what I'm saying is, like, who's making bigger checks? And the shit talker probably is making bigger checks.
Yeah.
But that bag of dicks is coming.
It's true.
That bag of dicks is coming, and I have no pity for Ronda. Like, I have none. This whole thing where she's like committing suicide is like, well, you need to learn how to be a better sore loser. It's like the kids that don't know how to lose nowadays.
Yeah, I say she needs to learn how to lose.
It's just like the kids nowadays that don't know how to lose because they get participation trophies. I heard the other day somebody where kids nowadays, in some places, they play a sport, but they don't keep track of points.
Yeah, I've heard that before.
This right here is why we're fucking losing. We used to make steel in this country.
Yeah, no, that's why
we used to fucking make steel in this country.
That's why Terrace hate us right there. That reason.
That's part of life. Parents are trying to have their children avoid any sort of anguish. Like, that anguish, that distraught is what pushes you towards getting better. If everybody's like not keeping track and they're like, yay, everybody won. Well, you're never going to be focused to do better, to do more, to be the best. You know what I'm saying? Ash wanted to be the best because, you know what I'm saying, there was already a marker there. If there wasn't a guy who's good, he'd be like, I guess I'll just catch Pikachu and go home. You know what I'm saying?
This Butterfree's the best.
This Butterfree's the best thing. Metapod's the thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. It's that struggle that pushes you. It's the same thing with, like, there's always those talks about how they say that UFC fighters, some of the best are always come from backgrounds where, like, they were bullied or they went through really fucked up shit, and that's what made them as good as they are. Mm-hmm. And that's the argument for, like, John Jones. Like, he has 2 older brothers that beat the shit out of him to this day. And he says it. His older brother's like, I will still kick his ass. And I'm like, this guy's regarded as a pound-for-pound best fighter in the world, and his older brother will still kick his ass. And it's like, John Jones, you know why John Jones doesn't give a fuck about any of the dudes in the UFC? Because his older brother will still whoop his ass.
It's probably true.
And it feels a lot worse when your brother whoops your ass than when some dude beats your ass.
Yeah.
Because it's like, whatever, it's just some dude that's probably trained hard or whatever. But this guy grew up in the same household, ate the same shit you did, lives with you, and you're going to see him every Thanksgiving, every Christmas, every birthday, and he's still going to bring up the fact that he beats the shit out of you, even though you've got the belt.
Yeah.
And that's what sometimes makes people that determined to put in the work. And this whole participation trophy bullshit and this whole, like, this whole like, let's not keep points because we don't want anybody to feel discouraged. Well, look, parents, you can only baby your kids for so long. You can only keep your kids sheltered for so long. And I'm going to tell you this right now. The moment that you can no longer have them under your wing, and the moment they deal with some true adversity, that's going to cripple them by far more than it would if they lost a fucking t-ball game. Like a softball game in their... What years kids start playing games? 6th grade? 6th grade? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, that kid's going to be crushed. And that's why America's getting soft, man. We're too quick to just tell people, no, you did good no matter what. You did fine. You don't need to improve. You're doing great. Sometimes you tell kids, hey, you need to work a little harder. Well, you need to do more.
Well, that's why hopefully Rhonda at least learn from this and it's coming back. And she comes back better and stronger.
That's the idea, right? That's what everybody says. But I don't believe it. Like,
you think she's just broken forever?
I think Holly broke her. And that's my next point. Good transition there. That's my next point. Like, so there was no talks for her to fight ever again. And don't tell me, okay, I don't want to come off like I don't like Ronda. I don't think she's the greatest person ever. I'm nowhere near fond of her. And we'll get to Conor and Aldo after this. But she wasn't ready to fight. She's taking all this time off. Dana keeps talking about how, hey, she's just taking time. She doesn't want to talk about it. We'll deal with it later. And then all of a sudden, I guess Dana texts Ronda after the fight. And he's like, hey, what do you think? And she's like, I didn't watch it. What happened? And she's like, he's like, hey, Misha basically choked her out. And she's like, well, I guess I better get back to training. And that to me, like, tells me that Ronda's very comfortable with Misha because she's beat Misha like 4 or 5 times or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And so that to me tells me that she's very confident. She's like, all right, let me go get my belt back. That to me tells me that. Let me go get my belt back. But where the fuck was that with Holly?
I don't know, man.
I think Holly broke her. I think she didn't break her physically. Well, probably her face because I think she had to get some teeth replaced, right? But I think she really did have to get some teeth replaced.
Did she?
I think so. I think her front teeth or some shit.
Damn.
I think.
Damn, savage.
She didn't just break her face, though. She broke her. She mentally broke her. And I think she was nowhere near ready to get back in the ring with the woman that broke her and destroyed like everything that she had built up. If she built herself up that high, that's why she crashed so low. And getting back in that ring and looking at that person back in the eyes, knowing that they broke you, is hard fucking shit. That's why, dude, my heart broke. My heart broke when fucking Pettis took away Henderson's belt. Because I saw that press conference and Henderson... I got to give it to him, man. Big balls for going to that press conference after the fact. And Henderson, like, they asked him, they're like, what was it like? You know, what are you feeling right now? And he was like, he had to hold back crying. And you could tell his voice is breaking. Because that dude took his fucking belt and knocked him the fuck out in what, Strikeforce? Or, no, the other one, WEC. And then did it again in the UFC. That dude, they still use that stupid highlight reel for that same kick. Don't get me wrong, it's a fucking good kick. But it's not like it ended the fight or it was like the ultimate fucking finishing move. Like, not a guy from Mortal Kombat came out and was like, fatality. Like, it wasn't that great. All right. And they still use it for Pettis' highlight reel when he hasn't done anything that impressive in the UFC. But anyways, once again, that's the hardest part. I think Home broke her. I think she broke her. And getting back into the ring and doing a press tour with that girl would have broken her mentally. She wasn't ready to fight Home. But now that she's fought Misha... The way Ronda is able to get in Misha's skin and fuck with her throughout the press conference tour is the way Holly Holm is now going to be able to get in Ronda's head and fuck with her.
So you think Ronda comes back being the same Ronda, like talking shit?
Yeah.
Or you think she's like, all right, I'm ready to fight?
No, she comes back talking shit.
I think I made the comparison on one of the other podcasts when we brought up Ronda for some reason or another. I was like, oh yeah, Ronda is very Vegeta-like if you watch Dragon Ball. She's very aggressive and aggro all the time, and she's just kind of a dick. So you think she comes back
no
like that?
Yes. She comes back
Or you think she comes back more like Goku, who's like, oh yeah, we're going to fight?
If I try to understand who she is and I try to put myself into her brain, I think you come back exactly the way you were because, first of all, you're probably very comfortable in that skin when you're promoting a fight. Number 2, you can easily get into your opponent's head because she has multiple times with that same girl. 3, I always like 3, so let me fucking make up a third one. And at the same time, like, I think, I don't have a third one. I just think she can get into her head. I think.
So you don't think she's going to come back
Nope.
and be like,
Nope.
be like, oh,
Nope.
hi, I'm Ronda Rousey, and I'm going to fight Miesha Tate for the championship.
Nope.
I had that title for a while, but Miesha is a great fighter, and we're going to fight.
Nope.
And she's going to give her the Goku, and they're going to fight. You
Nope.
don't think that's going to happen?
Nope. She's going to come back
She's going
and
to be like, what up? Motherfucker, what? I'm going to take that belt, and I'm going to teabag her. And then I'm going to call Master Chief. He's going to teabag her, too. You think that's what she's going to be like?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
You don't think she's learned anything?
Nope.
Jeez, man.
Nope.
You got a negative outlook on this.
Nope. I just think that works very well for her. And
she got beat, so she needs to find something else.
This is the problem, though. So this is the problem. The problem is that we don't know what happened on the back end. So there's a possibility that Joe Silva and Dana sat down and were like, hey, let's have you and Home fight for the title. And she was like, I'm not fighting Home. So you give me a title fight. And that could be for one or two reasons. 1, because she knows she could push those buttons and get back on the belt. Or 2, because she does not want to fight Home. And the problem is that, like, I think this for her is mentally a less stressful situation than going back through a training camp with Home. And she can keep the same people around her. She doesn't have to change her training coach, her boxing coach, and get a real fucking legit MMA coach. And get to the point where she can fight Miesha or Home. I don't think she can do it. I think literally that mental fuck of Home and social media and everything fucked with her.
So you think that bag of dicks was just too big?
That was too big of a dick bag. Too big.
So you think Connor's going to come back more humble? Because according to him in his post...
Tell them about that shit.
His post interview, they interviewed Nate. Nate was pretty chill about the whole thing. Your children are here. In case you couldn't hear them.
Hey, what? That was awesome. The mics won't pick it up, I don't think.
So, yeah, Nate was pretty chill about the whole thing, man.
Nate was pretty chill. I was surprised.
He was like, yeah, dude was
He's
tough.
like, that's what's up.
He's like, that's what's up.
I wasn't surprised. You know what I'm saying? And let me start by saying this. Like, him and I aren't very biased at all when it comes to fighters. You actually, let me rephrase that. I'm not very biased. You're very fucking biased.
I take everything personal.
You do.
Super personal.
And it's fucking hilarious.
That's the only way to take it.
You were like, so like, yeah, Nate, kick his ass, even though you hate Nick and Diaz.
I hate
Nick and Nate. You hate them, but in the fight, you were pushing for them. For me, like, I really had no dog in the game for this one because I was like, look, Conor wins. Then we get like a crazy ass media tour with Dos Anjos.
Goro was going to come out and he was going to fight Goro. That was going to be like, for 200.
Yeah, so like I'm like, hey, if Conor wins, then we get another show of because look, this was a good fight, but for me it was like I wish they would have had more of a build up. I've said it before in different avenues. I wish Nate, Nick, the older one. I wish the older one was fighting because he's way better shit talker than Nick. Way better. He was in that Embedded series for like 2 seconds and you're just talking about fucking dude training with pool noodles and shit. And that was the funniest part out of the whole build-up. He's a way better shit talker, and that's what I wanted to see, just the shit talking. Why? Because it's so much sweeter when somebody loses after all that shit talking. It's that bag of dicks, and you could hear UPS delivering it when they lose.
It was overnight delivery.
And so I didn't have a skin in the game. I didn't give a shit. I really didn't.
I take it so personally because I'm like, I take everything personal, but mine was just more of the fighting aspect of it. I'm like, I can see how Conor's going to lose this. Did they prepare him for it? And exactly what happened is exactly how I thought was going to happen.
Well, it's funny because it seemed like Conor thought he was going to be able to knock him out.
He did. And
like he thought he had one-punch power.
They didn't plan him for it. My whole thing was, I had said this like the week or two before, and I've been saying it ever since.
Or start doing that shit you do where you're like...
Yeah, you got to do it like this. I've been saying it that they needed... He was going to get hit. Conor was going to get hit.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
He needed to get hit because Nate and Nick, they're like Ihana. They just throw punches. Yeah. You don't know where they're throwing punches. But a punch is going to land.
Well, I think they're a little bit more accurate than that. But I think that they can take damage. They'll actually...
And they take a lot of damage.
They'll take one to give one.
Yeah.
But they pepper just punches.
And that was my thing. I go, he's gonna throw a lot of punches. Hopefully they taught Conor that they told him in advance, you're going to get hit. Take the punch. Take a few punches. but don't take a lot of them. But and it looks like they didn't. They told him no, dude, you're good. Go in there, hit him twice, he'll be down. Like no, that's not what Nate or Nick Diaz, either of them. It doesn't work that way. Does not work that way because when he got hit, he looked like he had never been hit before in his life.
And I will say this, dude. I've been watching Conor a lot, and like I saw a comparison photo of him weighing in for this fight and weighing in against like Chad or Aldo. And holy shit, that guy cuts a hell of a lot of weight.
Yeah, he does.
Like I saw him, and he was like so depleted at that level that I was like, how do you rehydrate that much? Like he's not gonna get back to 170, but how are you gonna get back to 160 if that? That's insane. But back to answer your question in the beginning, do I think he's gonna come back humble?
You think, well, because after the fight, yeah, Nate was like, yeah, that's what's up. And then Conor's like, thank you for fighting me, Nate Diaz. That was a good fight. My Conor impression is spot on.
No, it's not. It's not good.
Yeah, it's perfect. And he was like, yeah, in defeat, I'm humble, but also in victory. I was like, the fuck are you talking about? No, you're not.
Well, and the next day, the Instagram post was like, he's like talking about how he still would have gone for that. Fucking camera went down. He still would have gone for the same shots he went for before, and it wouldn't have changed anything. And to me, it's like, okay, that's fine. And then like towards the middle of the post, he's like, oh yeah, by the way, Aldo and Dos Anjos, he's like, those are pussies.
Yeah, well, Conor was saying, oh yeah, I started slow. I didn't use my energy right. I'm like, dude. If you were in there with Dos Anjos, he would have came at you like a velociraptor who was hungry.
Yeah, and
you wouldn't have had time to start up.
And that was my point. Like, I think that he cutting that much weight does have a little bit of a strength increase.
Yeah.
Or an increase, not an increase, a strength.
Decrease.
No. I think because he's a heavier guy and he cuts so much weight to fight like Aldo or Mendez, like he is stronger once he rehydrates. And I think that's maybe why he's got a little bit better punching power, where he can knock guys out. But you're not going to do that at heavier weights. And Dos Anjos isn't going to take that shit. No. Like Dos Anjos takes damage and then he just keeps going.
He's not gonna be there long enough for you.
And
to hit him that much.
So that was his bad, but I don't think he'll come back humbled. I think once again, for him, more specifically, it's about the money. Mm-hmm. And he knows that sells fights, and he's going to probably do it again. I don't think he comes back humble. But let me start off and backtrack on this. I mentioned it a couple times. I've been keeping an eye on him a lot. And I came originally from that standpoint to digress to the beginning of this podcast where I didn't like him because of that, like his asshole attitude. I've always liked the traditional martial artists who are like very assumingly put together, and they're very like reserved, and they're very just like, hey, let's talk in the ring. And he was the opposite, and I didn't like that. But you know what changed my mind about him originally was that I watched him in like something the UFC put out where he was a bystander, like watching a fight, and I can't remember if it was Aldo versus Mendez or somebody else was fighting, and he was on the sidelines watching it. And this is after he came out all brash and cocky, and he was watching it, and I think for a moment he forgot the camera was on. And he was watching it as you and I would, like fans of the sport, and he was excited and talking about the combinations, and he was like, oh, that's cool. Like, he was truly excited. And after the match was over, like, you could tell, like, it was almost like, oh, shit, there's cameras on me. And he fucking put it back up. Mm-hmm. He turned it back on. Like, that attitude, he turned it back on. And then I've been, what was the other thing I watched? And I was just like, dude, this guy's putting up a front. And I get it, man. Like, it makes you a fuck ton of money. That guy's making the most money in the UFC probably.
He's doing the, as Chael Sonnen would say, the Chael Sonnen effect.
Yeah, he's selling hella wolf tickets. But at the same time, like, I don't hate the guy for it because I know what he's doing. But I will say he's approached this way better than Ronda did. He went to the press conference. He talked about losing. He's been putting on social media. He didn't just disappear, just fucking eating dick out of that bag. Like, yeah, he's out there, and he knows he lost, and he admitted it, and he said, you know, whatever's a better fight.
That's why he'll continue, I think, to be a really big draw. He might be bigger now because he's like, yeah, I lost.
I don't know if he'll be bigger, man, because if
I
he
think
would
he
have ran
might
through
be.
Nick and then ran through Dos Anjos and got to Lawler, can you fucking imagine that? A double belt.
Dude, Lawler would have punched a hole
That
through
doesn't
him.
matter. What I'm saying is that if he would have had 2 belts going into Lawler,
Oh.
can you imagine how big of a fucking draw
That'd
that
be
is?
crazy, man.
He could have wiped his ass with hundreds.
He probably does that now.
Probably does that now. The way he's fucking using
Yeah,
those
the way he uses money.
cars. But at the same time, like, I see what he's doing, and I kind of respect him more than I did before I saw that it was an act.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, like, Connor's still gonna eat some dicks for this.
Yeah.
I still posted some shit on Instagram. Like, he's gonna eat dick for this. It's not like he's avoiding the dick because he whatever. Like, he talked his shit, and now he has delivery of dicks, and hopefully it doesn't cripple him the way Ronda does. But I don't know. I'm not a fighter, and I don't know what the best case scenario is. It's almost like you got to make up your own decision about that. But just be aware that if you take an asshole stance, there's a bag of dicks for you.
That's probably true with anything, dude.
That's
Just
what,
not
of
fighting.
course. But I think now it's different because we're like in this refined society. Like back in the
Yes.
day, you would have just died. If Genghis Khan, if you're some bad motherfucker talking shit, and Genghis Khan came across that fucking horizon with his troops, and you were talking shit to Genghis Khan, your ass is dead. Genghis Khan don't give no fucks.
Nope.
And he would have taken all your women too.
He left them all in Mongolia.
Yeah. Genghis Khan didn't give a fuck. Talk about any dictator. Any of them. Even in modern society.
George Bush left all his fucks in Texas.
If you look at fucking Saddam Hussein. That guy gave no fucks.
Born without fucks.
Look at the guy in Russia now. What's his name?
Putin.
That guy he's old Soviet Union.
Buried all his fucks in Siberia.
Yeah,
They're
dude,
frozen.
If you heard the stories of him,
yeah.
like ridiculous shit, like when Obama was over there in peace talks, like he knew Obama's room was, and he went out there and he was like riding horses, like without a shirt, and he was like taking a swim in super cold icy pools.
He caught a fish in the river.
He's just like
with
looking
his
at
mouth.
him. That dude's gangster. That dude's old school, but he's the old. He was an old what special forces Russian?
SSR people.
Some shit like that. He's like
Oh,
old,
KGB.
I think he's KGB, old KGB.
Damn.
He's old school, like.
That dude's done some shady shit.
Oh yeah, he has. I think he's openly spoken about being disappointed that the Soviet Union went down.
Yeah, I'm sure.
He's like openly wanting to bring it back.
Probably does. For like, oh man, good old Russia back in the day, just kill anybody you want.
That dude's been in power forever. Anyway, that's a totally different topic. But once again, like you're gonna get a bag of dicks. You just are, and that's society now because now there's social media. You get punishment.
Yeah, I
with
say it's
social
probably
media.
worse now because we are in a refined society, so you can't say what you want. The camera went
It
down
depends on
again.
your personality. If you're a guy that can. I think that thing's just taking a shit. That's the problem with these cameras. It's like they can't record for a long amount of time at once.
Yeah.
And so trying to do something like that just doesn't work.
I say, but your bag of dicks is probably going to be bigger now because we are in that refined society where you can't just say shit you want. Although we pretty much say the shit we want most of the time.
Yeah, I suppose. But I think the problem with that idea is that if you can brush it off your shoulder, you're fine.
Yeah.
But if you're a person that looks at all that shit and takes it personally, probably like Rhonda sounds like she is, you're fucked. You're
Yeah,
fucked.
that's
So
true
if you're
too.
a Genghis Khan guy where you're just like, fuck, you think Jay-Z gives a fuck about anything?
Nope.
Exactly. So
He stopped giving fucks when he married Beyonce, or when he first was dating Beyonce back in the day.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. He don't care. What are you doing, yo? Leaving me here.
I'm still here. What are you talking about? Anyway, so yeah, I just think...
That puppy's trying to get in here, yo.
I know. I think that that's just kind of the downside. And I think that that's some hella weak shit where she's like, well, I better get back to training now that Misha has a belt.
Hey, and maybe she meant she needs to start training to fight Holly again.
What are you talking about? She's going to get the title shot.
Yeah, I know, but maybe that's what she meant. You don't know what she meant.
No, I think she knows specifically she's going to get a title shot. She can beat Misha. But the problem with that idea is that at the end of the day, she's going to have to fight Holly again.
Yeah, she's going to have to fight her.
At the end of the day, she better hope that she can get past that. Because at the end of the day, she's going to have to fight home again. And if she is still mentally fucking abused by the idea of getting her head knocked on the canvas, good luck.
Well, yeah, I tweeted it last night. I'm like, well, now we have the reverse DC Jones thing here in the women's division, because now Misha's a champion. Now is everybody gonna be like, "Oh yeah, Misha's champion"? They're like, "No, not until you beat Ronda. You're the actual champion."
No, because I think Ronda lost. Like Jones vacated or they took away his title.
But she didn't beat Ronda.
So you don't have to beat everybody. That's like the idea of saying that Lawler has to run through the whole division in order for him to get the belt. It doesn't work that way. Like somebody lost, and then the other guy lost, and then the guy gets the belt. But the problem with Jones is that he didn't lose. That dude's only loss is supposedly based on a technicality or some shit.
Yeah.
He got DK'd from I think it was like a 12-6 elbow.
Yeah,
or some
12-6 elbow.
I don't know, but he hasn't technically
Which
lost.
we just watched the fight, 2 weeks ago? And I'm pretty sure we saw at least one 12-6 elbow.
I think it depends on whether or not you're standing or laying down or some shit. I think if you're laying down, I don't know. There's some weird fucking rules in MMA. There's some weird rules in MMA.
You need to do it like the documentary we're watching. No rules all the time.
But the problem, the crazy part about that documentary, we're talking about the documentary Choke. He hasn't seen it. I just introduced him to it. The problem with those tournaments is not like even like the crazy moves either. It's the fact that those dudes fought like 2-3 times in a night.
Yeah.
With no whole bars.
It was only an 8-man tournament.
So they're fighting like twice.
Yes.
At least twice.
3 times.
That's crazy.
Hey, man.
No holds barred.
You want to be the best in the world, or you don't want to be the best in the world?
What is it, Street Fighter?
Yeah. World Martial Arts Tournament happening. Popping off back in 95, Japan.
That brings me fond memories of Dragon Ball.
Dude, they showed the bracket. It was the bracket from Dragon Ball. I was like, the fuck?
Is that Goku?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, man. But I back to your question, like, I think Ronda comes back cocky as fuck again. Why? Because that works for her, and I think for her it's like a face.
It's a mindset.
She could put it on, and she could just pretend to be the baddest bitch in the world.
And Connor comes back same? Or
And
he
Connor
comes back a little bit,
same.
a little bit more chill.
And it also depends on who he fights. If he comes back and he fights Aldo, he's going to be cocky as fuck still. If he comes back and fight Dos Anjos, he's going to be cocky as fuck still. Frankie's going to be hard because Frankie doesn't really talk much shit. If you're Dana, you almost want to give it to Aldo because it's going to be a bigger draw.
You have to give it to Aldo.
Fuck Frankie.
Frankie's fine. He's doing commentary. He's fine.
He's fine making money.
Making money. He don't care.
And that brings me back to my point. Like when I talked about that, I like Connor. Like he's kind of won me over. Like what he's doing and his philosophies. I like the kid. Kid, is he younger than me? He might be. I don't know. I like him. I think I'm not a fan of the cocky attitude, but I like kind of his work ethic. He works hard as fuck. I think he's one of those guys that's training all the time. Like you look at DC and you see he's embedded and he's like home eating chicken, like he's having like a barbecue with his family, and that's not being racist. He literally has.
You gotta do the Joe Rogan and be like, look, we're not being racist when we talk about chicken.
Yeah, right. Okay, that's no fucking kidding. And the pre-fight embedded for Jones, he literally is at a fucking barbecue with his family, and they're like in a park somewhere, and they had like fried chicken, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's what it was. I hope that's what it was now. But anyways.
I mean, it could be.
Back to my point. Like, what was my point?
You made a racist comment about DC.
I got lost in the racist comment now.
Just eats chicken. In his off time.
He likes chicken. He likes chicken. He likes chicken. Because remember, he fought a guy and he was fucking with him. He brought him chicken.
Confirmed,
during the weigh-ins.
DC likes chicken.
He does. I think it was like Dan Henderson that he fought. It's when he fought Dan Henderson.
Dan Henderson brought him a bucket of chicken?
He brought him chicken, like right before the open workouts. And he's like, here you go, buddy. He's like, thanks. He's like, I kid you fucking not.
That's fucking savage as
I'm going to find that clip after we're done with this.
Dude, that's savage
It's
as
in the embedded.
balls,
he brings
man.
him chicken, not to be an asshole, but he's like, here, I know you like it. And he's just like...
Dude, that's fucking awesome. He's like, what's up? There you go, some chicken for you. Maybe you take a dive.
It's real deep fried.
It's really deep fried, really juicy. Got from Lolo's Chicken and Waffles.
Oh fuck! Yeah, that's just soaked right in. Anyway,
that's what she said.
You beat me to it. So, I think at the end of the day,
your point was that DC doesn't train all the time, as where Connor does.
Exactly. I think he works out all the fucking time. That's Ito Portal's thing. Like his movement shit.
Hit you with pool noodles.
Hit your poo noodles. No, I think like they work out for hours at a time. They do a bunch of weird shit, but they work out fucking for hours at a time. Like his girlfriend probably sees him at the end of the night where he's like, hey, fucking come here real quick. That's the only time Connor ever sees his girlfriend. You know, like that dude's working out all the time, and I love his work ethic. I think he's very disciplined and very like he's a mentally tough guy. But at the same time, like he's using it as a tool to be the shit talking is a tool to make his opponent kind of lose it. And I will say, like, dude, my favorite fighter by far ever, like the guy that has always been my favorite has always been Aldo. And when he lost that shit, best believe I was not happy. But at the same time, like, I get it. Is Connor like a little bit of an asshole? Yeah, of course he is. For him to be like Aldo's a pussy and so is Dos Anjos. Hopefully you never have to fight Dos Anjos because that dude's not gonna make it easy for you. Like Dos Anjos is probably gonna be the dude. Dos Anjos, I told you about this, right? When he fought Pettis to take the belt away from him, he had him in a rear. I think he took him down with a rear naked choke. Mm-hmm. And at the end, he whispered in his ear, he's like, "The show's over."
Yeah.
Savage as fuck. When I heard that, I just about lost it.
Yeah,
I was like, he literally just whispered in his ear, "The show is over," and he just tapped him out.
Mm-hmm.
Dos Anjos is a crazy motherfucker where he'll probably just keep it going. He'll just like fucking put him on the ground and just beat the shit out of him and let it go the round. And then do it next round. And then do it next round.
Night, man.
He's a savage, that dude. He's like, what surprised me is not how aggressive he is, how good his cardio is. In the 5th round, he is almost as good as the 1st round. And he comes at you like Kane does. He's like fucking aggressive. But back to my point, like I like Connor. I'm not a big fan of Ronda. And I think that's who Ronda is. Like that I don't know what it thinks she's working out, why she's trying to be so aggressive, but I think that's just who she is. Just like, and I one of the reasons I'm kind of fucking done with the YouTube fitness community is because I could see through the bullshit. And I could see who's talking shit and trying to put on a face. And when you see a guy or a girl and they get on their YouTube fucking camera and they're like, "Hi guys, today we're gonna go make some cupcakes." Yeah, like when you see that shit, that's a fake ass person. That's a face. It's a shell of a person.
We should go make some cupcakes.
You want to get some cupcakes out of this? Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, like that's a facade. So I'm pretty good at seeing through the bullshit, that fucking layer of thick bullshit that people put on. I think Connor's he can be a little bit arrogant. And I think, look, he's earned a little bit of it. Like, he's came from, like who was he a year ago? We didn't know who the hell he was a year ago.
Who, Connor?
Yeah.
I saw him beating up Joe Silver.
No, is that a year ago?
Yeah.
Before Silver. Do you know who the hell he was?
He's beating up that other dude who worked at Subway.
Exactly. At the end of the day, I didn't know who that dude was. And in a year, he became the biggest draw. So, do I see where the cockiness came from? Fuck yeah. Yeah, maybe you deserve to be a little cocky when you went from a dude that he's coming from a camp that really nobody's heard of, and he's now the biggest draw in the UFC. I think just Ronda's like that. And I think, like, who else is a shit talker? I think Chael Sonnen is just a guy. He's a character. That dude says what he wants to say just so he can stir up the pot. That's shit he would say about Brazil. Like, I've heard stories, and I've heard there's been, like, rumors that he was scared shitless when he went to Brazil.
Yeah.
Because he's like, these dudes are going to kill me. He's talking mad shit about Brazil. Probably. But you look at, like, who else is a shit talker? Jones. I think Jones is like that. The thing that bothers me about Jones is so fucking fake. He's like, I've changed my ways, guys. I'm not teaching kids to be like.
And DC's like, what are we even doing here,
John?
What are we doing here,
John Jones?
What are we even doing here?
Yeah, John's just like, I've changed. I've done so many things.
I don't understand how people boo DC.
They don't like DC.
Is it because he's an honest dude?
I don't know. I don't know why people don't like DC. I'm not like fucking all about DC, but I don't dislike him.
All about DC.
I'm whatever. But at the same time, I think Jones is a little bit of an asshole because, like, at the end of the day, like, they'll go to square up and John Jones is still talking shit. Like, he was the one that was like, "Oh, I'm so nice and I'm so good." And then remember how they released that video where they were talking?
What are you doing, pussy?
He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "I'm gonna fuck you up, pussy."
What are you doing, pussy? And he was like talking to microphone. What are you doing, pussy?
We should reenact that. We just like, I'm gonna literally spit in your face, John Jones. He's like, "If you do that, I will fucking kill you."
He's like, "Wait, John Jones, you're gonna literally kill me?"
He's like, "You're gonna try to kill me, John Jones? Is that what you're gonna do in the cage? You're gonna try to kill me, John Jones?" He's like, "I'm literally gonna kill you."
He's like, literally. You are literally gonna kill me, and
respectfully gonna kill you, pussy.
Me and Zaboomafoo, my lion, are gonna kill you.
So much for not cussing in this podcast. But anyways,
is that what we're going for?
I'm trying to cuss less. But at the end of the day, like, they stare down.
Is that
and
we're giving up for Lent?
Oh, I forgot to give someone for Lent. At the end of the day, like, they go to square up, and then John Jones walks away, and he's like, is that what a dude does when he's reformed and he's like a better person? Like, whatever.
I do that all the time.
Who else is a shit talker? Joanna John.
I don't pay attention to women's MMA.
She's a shit talker, but I don't think she's not a fucking bad person. Like, I look at her, and every single time after the fights, she's like, good fight.
Dominic Cruz talking that mad shit lately.
Dominic Cruz is one that I could tell
He's
you.
Taking it to another
that
level.
Dude is an asshole, but I think he's
an asshole.
He's really that guy. He's really that guy, and I think he might even have like a small man complex.
Maybe. He was saying some funny shit though.
He was saying some funny shit, but I will say, like, I think that's who he is. Like, I don't think he's putting up a front.
No.
And after the fights, he doesn't apologize for shit. He's just like, fuck you.
Yeah.
And so it's going to be interesting because I'm wondering how long he can hold that out. He can't continue to do MMA. He gets too broken down after every fight.
I'm surprised he's fighting so soon. I thought they're going to have to rebuild him.
He needs to get on that juice like everybody else is doing.
Maybe he is.
Dude, that fucking dude that had Gyno at the fucking fights yesterday. I'm not going to say who, and we should probably cut this off soon, but one of the guys that was fighting at the fucking fight, his gynecomastia was so bad.
It was pretty bad, dude.
I was making boob jokes throughout the whole fucking fight to Ruben. I was like, if this dude doesn't walk out, it doesn't watch out.
You don't have to tell me. You're like, that dude guy's gyno. And I was like.
You were like, holy shit.
Yeah, I was like, how they letting this dude fight right now?
He had hella gyno. Not just like one tit, like Ulysses from that Ulysses guy. You don't know who he is. He's a fitness guy. He had a fucking gyno on one of them. This guy had gyno on both. Like, he had A cup. I'm like, that doesn't usually happen. If that's happening to you naturally without drugs, you really need to get your fucking hormone levels checked.
Do you see a doctor?
That doesn't normally happen. Like, I've seen guys that maybe get it naturally in their teens, and maybe it's one side, one nipple, but for him to have both like that, and pretty bad, man. Pretty bad. And you didn't even see the worst. You know when the worst was? When they had those like videos where they're moving and like kicking and shit. They're showing their stats. Like those little video clips. Mm-hmm. He had it bad
just
there.
Flopping.
I was like, it's like pink and shit. What the fuck's going on here?
You thought the nipple was going to scratch other guy's cornea and shit?
I thought he was going to kill him. Straight fucking squirt milk on him or something. That happens. That happens.
Damn.
That was pretty bad.
Hey,
but anyway,
that's right. Everybody on the roids.
That's what Nate Diaz says. I kind of probably agree with him. But anyways, Dominic. I think Dominic is like that. I think Dominic's a little bit of an asshole. He's got his small man complex. I almost want Uriah to win because they're kind of like always back and forth. One wins, the other one loses. The other one wins, the other one loses. I kind of want Faber to win, and let's see how long we keep that going.
So they don't have to fight TJ.
Oh, either way, man, that's a good one because if Dominic loses, then he refights TJ. Who else is he going to fight? I don't even know who else is in that division. I thought it's just those three. Division. And then
I thought it was just TJ and the Vampire and the Faber.
Dude, everybody's talking about Barral like he's a second coming. I don't think TJ or Barral could beat Dillashaw if he tried. I mean, Dominic.
Really? They should have that fight.
I mean, a good one. I almost even want to see if Uriah wins. I almost want to see TJ Uriah because there's no animosity between those two.
Yeah, apparently
so much.
Yeah, apparently now there is.
Who else? Who else is a shit talker? That's about it. But I'll tell you what, man. All of them are talking shit now. Rockhold, Weidman, that stupid dude who continues to call himself the Kui. I'm gonna fucking punch that dude personally in the face. You don't like that dude. I don't like that dude. I'm gonna take up MMA just to fight that guy. That's the stupidest shit I've ever heard of. Who else is out there? Who else is a belt holder? Lawler's the only one that's like, I don't give a fuck. Let's just fight.
Lawler took so many punches he can't form sentences. Yeah.
Rory doesn't talk shit either.
Rory don't talk to nobody.
Wonder Boy doesn't talk shit.
Wonder Boy doesn't talk to anybody.
Dude, I feel bad for Rumble. He needs a title shot already. Poor guy's been whooping ass forever, and it's just like, eh.
Well, he'll have to get the title shot, or he'll have to get the winner, right?
But the problem with him now is, you know what the problem is?
What?
The problem is that DC just showed how to beat him. Then the 4th and 5th round, if you're not knocked out, he just gasses out.
Well, Jones didn't watch that, so it's not going to matter.
Jones was in jail?
Oh, that's...
Doing cocaine? I was
just saying he didn't watch it because he... I was saying he didn't watch it because he didn't care. So.
Oh, I got you.
But probably those things.
He's running away from a car accident. He was literally just running from a car accident. Yeah, where you hit a birthing center.
Yeah, he calls the Boomafoo his pet lion, and he just rode off into the night.
I think we're getting Lion-O. You should have called him Lion-O.
No, Boomafoo's better. Sounds more authentic.
Anyway, so that's kind of my thoughts on it. Like, I think it's a trade-off. Like, as a fighter, like, I'm not a fighter, so I don't know what's best. I mean, you want to make your money. You want to make as much money as possible. But just be aware that a giant box of dicks or a bag of dicks, whatever, is going to be on the way to see you. Like, it's going to, like, hit you in the face hard.
Mm-hmm. It's true.
I don't know. I don't know if you want to call that karma or you want to just call that payback or some shit. I don't know.
You should call this podcast Bag O' Dicks.
Bag of dicks. UFC196 bag of dicks.
Bag O' Dicks.
Bag O' dicks. I will say, last night's fights were good, man.
Dude.
It's the first time in a long time where, like, anybody won. Like, Ronda, even the Holly and Misha and Nate and Connor. Like, at the end of Nate and Connor, I was like, oh! Like, the moment Connor went for the takedown, I was like, you fucked up. I was yelling this out. I was like, you fucked up. And then, like, moments later, he taps him out, and I was just like, you fucked up. And I didn't give a shit. I didn't give a shit who won. Like, I didn't really care.
No.
I almost, like, a little bit of me, to be honest with you, a little bit of me kind of wanted Connor to win. Because then that just means he steamrolls to that next level. Mm-hmm. So at the next level, either he gives it to Lawler, which then he would have gotten destroyed. Or he goes and fights Dos Anjos, and then he would have gotten destroyed.
Yep.
A little bit of me wanted him to win. But either way, like, when Nate choked him out, I was like, you fucked up. It
was a pretty cool experience, man.
Everybody in the bar was like, yeah. And then some dude in the back was cheering him on, like throwing spirit bomb energy to him.
Yeah,
was like,
the one dude. There's one dude who was. There's a few Connor fans. One dude was trying to give his drunk spirit energy to.
Dude,
Connor.
he was all about Connor.
He was like,
calm
no,
down, bro.
I was like, what are you doing, dude? But then after he tapped out, everybody started the USA chant, which I thought was weird.
Which is like, it's funny. You could tell like the difference about like Holly. It's really funny because the people that were chosen to win were the ones that had the shittiest ground game.
Mm-hmm.
Holly had very shitty ground game, and so does Connor. And they both got choked out with a rear naked choke.
I guess they expect a knockout.
There was a meme online where it said, you know that thing that Connor says where it's like speed beats power and agility beats speed or some shit. At the bottom it's like, and jiu-jitsu beats everything. And had a picture of Home and Connor getting choked out. It happens, man. That's just life. And just, I guess you might be right in that sense where at the end of the day, be thankful that the worst thing you're getting is just a bag o' dicks with a bag of money because you made a lot of money. A bag o' dicks with a bag of money, but at the same time, you're getting a bag of dicks. Versus back in the day, like 400 years ago,
you just got a big dick.
You would have gotten stabbed in the throat.
Mm-hmm.
Stabbed in the throat. Not even a bag of dicks. You would have gotten stabbed in the throat, and then your whole family would have probably been dead.
Yep. Just like
or
that.
Worse. Just saying. That's it. Anything else you want to say? I can't believe we actually did an hour of this.
Stockton 209. What?
I like how you're all about this now.
I'm not, man. I just.
You're gonna get Nate and Nick Diaz tattooed on you.
No,
just like that dude,
one dude,
like that one guy. You know who that guy is, right?
Which one? It's not Iro Hawani, was it?
No. It's that guy that replaces Dana when Dave's not there.
Dumbass.
Yeah, exactly.
What a dumbass. No, it's just that like I just was like, I wonder if this is gonna work the way I think it is, and yeah, it worked just like it did.
The big variable for me was whether or not Connor did have that kind of power on that higher weight.
No. Maybe he does. He just needs to work at it a little bit more.
Maybe he does. All right, ladies and gents.
Stockton 209.